everyone, and welcome again to the Philly Factor. I'm your host, Paul Perrello. I always like a good movie, and I especially like a good movie that is the handiwork of people from our area, and that is the case of today's show. We have two guys joining us here on our program, Fabian Farina and Mariano Mattei. They join us. They are filmmakers. And their story of how these two guys came together is sort of a story unto itself. They both came from opposite sides of Broad Street, one on the east side, one on the west side. One went to Central High School. The other went to my alma mater, John Newman High School in South Philadelphia. And I want to welcome both Fabian and Mariano to the program to talk about your new project. And so thanks for being with us here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I have to say, when I reached out to these guys, didn't know much about them. I came across an article about them, and then Fabian did a wonderful job in sending me all these bullet points about how two strangers from two sides of Broad Street sort of came together. And I think you both would agree, and I'll start with you, Fabian, that just the story of how you and Mariano came together to work on not only this film that we're going to talk about here, but your previous film, that into itself is the makings of a movie.
That is in fact the makings of a movie, and maybe someday we'll actually put pen to paper and tell that story, because it is rather interesting, and we have a very long history together, a lot of different projects that we've done over the years, and most recently going into filmmaking and writing stories and producing them and acting in them and all that other stuff. So it's full of ideas.
When both of you were in high school, and in your case, Fabian Newman, and the other case of Mariano, was filmmaking ever part of your mindset? I mean, when back in the day when I was in Bishop Neumann, there were no courses in filmmaking, and it wasn't until I got to LaSalle that I really got the chance to make my own film as part of the coursework there. But did filmmaking, screenplays, screenwriting, that ever fit into the equation when you were growing up, Mariano?
Well, I took acting in college, and I did some plays in grade school and high school and things like that. But it was never a serious thought. It was just for fun. But one interesting thing is, because Fabian and I were in a band for many, many years together. What's funny is that we always used to play this game that we invented called Movie Trivia King. And we would constantly, because we watched a lot of movies, and it was just something that we both really enjoyed, movies. So we would have to deliver the line from the movie, and the other person would have to guess the movie. And we had rules, like we could call improper accent, or what was the obscure lineage, So we had this whole, but one day, back when Blockbuster was in existence, we had a game going on, and we had to go to Blockbuster to look it up to see if Robert Downey Jr. was the guy who played Amadeus, Mozart and Amadeus. Right. And I said it was not Robert Downey Jr. So Fabe lost that bet, and right in the middle of Blockbuster, he had to give me 50 push-ups. And I held that crown for about 5 years, but he's since taken it back. So
that's funny. That's a funny story.
Yeah.
You're given the world of filmmaking, and I still say there were many great movies set in Philadelphia, made in Philadelphia, well before Sylvester Stallone came up with the idea for Rocky and made Rocky in Philadelphia, and literally put Philadelphia and the Art Museum steps on the silver screen. But it seems that was a turning point for the city, because whether it's a big blockbuster movie or it's independent filmmaking, like the two of you, there's been so many great movies that have come out of the city, and hats off to filmmakers like yourself that realize there are so many great stories out there just waiting to be told. I mean, was there a particular movie growing up that either one of you saw or witnessed and sort of ignited that fire under you to say, hey, this is what I really want to do?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, so many. so many movies, right? But to your point, I think that my first film that I saw that was Philadelphia based, at least for me, was Rocky. And I saw that as a very young kid, and I loved the story. I loved the underdog. I loved the Philadelphia aspect of it. I loved everything about it. And like Mariano, growing up, I kind of dabbled here and there with acting and things of that nature, but I never really started writing until well after college. After high school, I went into the Army for 6 years. So, and then I worked for another 2 or 3 years, and I didn't start college until I was in my mid-20s. And a funny story about writing is my entrance examination, if you want to call it that, for Temple University, where I went to college. I totally failed the writing portion because I had no idea how to even write an essay. The assignment was just write a 2-page essay on anything that you want. And I literally wrote my name and handed in the paper. I said, I have no idea even where to begin. So I had to take intermediate writing courses and things of that nature. But then as the years progressed, I kind of got very interested in storytelling and writing. And when we first started thinking about doing films, my first initial thought was and still is Philadelphia-based stories, right? So even our first film, One Night, is based in Philadelphia, much different than Sacrum Vindictae in terms of genre and things of that nature. But everything is based around Philadelphia, people in Philadelphia, looking and talking about the culture and how the neighborhoods are and things of that nature, because it's so interesting to me anyway. And growing up in that environment, I always kind of looked at that and said, like my family, for example, I can write stories upon stories upon stories on just my family experiences. But then when you expand it into your neighborhood, and into the high school experience and so on and so forth, I mean, it's they're just stories that beg to be told.
Yeah, Philadelphia is a character.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would agree. And there are so many times where I've interviewed filmmakers, directors, even actors, when they're around and they come in on a press junket or a press tour, and we talk generally about movie making, and just the scenery that some of these films take in. Is that the background, the scenery, the location becomes another character in the film? It's not just the setting, but it really becomes that character that brings everything together with the actors, with the story, with the music, everything that so often people overlook. The location, it's important, especially, look, here we are, some 3 Philly guys talking about movies made in Philadelphia, and yours in particular. You could have gone anywhere to make that movie, but it's so much better to make it and set it and write the story about what you know best, and that would be your hometown.
Absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the backdrops of South Philly are amazing. There's no other city in the United States like Philadelphia.
Sure.
The row homes and the Italian market, Marconi Plaza, the lakes as we call it in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And of course, the art museum and stuff like that. But we try to stay away from the cliche stuff, at least in our films, and kind of take a look at the city the way that it really is, and it's just so interesting and so full of culture.
The two of you, as we said at the outset of the program, come from 2 different sides of South Philadelphia. You create this bond, this friendship that some would say would be impossible given the fact that your interests were so different. You join a band, you are successful with that. And then, what point then, Mariano, does the music take the back seat to the filmmaking?
I think for now, yeah. So we had stopped. It got to the point where just keeping a band together became a little bit too much.
Sure.
So with everything changing in terms of, because we had a recording studio, a music school, that's where we played, that's where we practiced, that's where we put on shows. At one point in our highlight, we were doing the college circuit. We were bus trips, 2 buses up to New York City, the Elbow Room, all of the places that have long since gone. Everything had been changing. So we decided to just pause the music for a while. And then when we first got into film, we actually did our own music for the film because, again, to save money, we put on a lot of different hats, and one of them was musical composer. Although we've off-shot that now to some exceptional people for the last 2 films. So, for us, it doesn't matter if it's music or film so much as it's that creative process that we get to do together. I'm not a sports guy. Fade is a diehard sports guy. So we're not going to games. We're not heavy drinkers. So we're not going to the bars,
Right.
So what do you do? So it's the one thing that we do have in common is that we both love to create and take on goals that seem unattainable, like either music business or film business. If we wanted to make money at something, we would have chosen a business that we would have probably made a lot more money at than spending it.
But that drive and determination then gets you recognized. Your first movie, One Night, which is now streaming on Amazon Prime. I mean, that had to be a major accomplishment. The fact that you're able to see the result of all this blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it, and now I'm certain that you're hoping that same determination will pay off with your second feature movie that just had a premiere the other night as we're sitting here taping this interview up in Jenkintown, I believe it was, up in Montgomery County. And Mariano was telling me before we started filming that the reaction was phenomenal. That's got to really make you feel good that you're onto something, you're doing something that is not only makes you feel good, but you're connecting with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that the premiere in and of itself was an amazing experience because with our first film, we released it just as COVID was hitting.
Oh.
So long story short, we were never able to have a theatrical premiere for One Night. We did do a screening for some friends and family and stuff like that over Zoom, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And we had a great reaction and things of that nature. And then, as you said, the process for that film was to hit the festival circuit, to see, what type of reaction we got from there. We got a tremendous reaction, won a good amount of awards, not only domestically, but overseas as well for the film. And then eventually we got distribution that put us on Amazon. So that without a doubt was a not only huge accomplishment, but really kind of sparked our interest, right, to keep going and
Sure.
to do bigger and better things. And that is where we are, I think, with Sacrum Vindictae, in terms of the storytelling, in terms of the script development, character development, the acting within this film. I can't say enough about the actors that we cast in here. I mean, they're the best of the best in the Philadelphia area. And it really came out exceptionally well. We got a great reaction at the premiere, which makes us, feel tremendous. And yeah, the goal for this film is to hopefully do a little bit better than what we did with One Night in terms of distribution and streaming and maybe some major streaming channels and things of that nature, in addition to Amazon Prime and things of that things like that. So that's what we're shooting for.
How has this experience with your first film and now your newest film. How has this experience forged your relationship? Because look, there are many creative types that will say, absolutely hate my co-writer. I can't work with my director. He or she thinks that they know it all. But given the diversity in both your backgrounds, I mean, how has this experience brought you together as better creators, as better partners? I mean, it could go either way, but from what I gather, from what I've read, and even in speaking with you two guys, that you're more than just friends. I mean, you're more than just business partners as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have our differences of opinion.
Yeah.
So nothing is ever perfect.
Right.
But what I would say is that we do have a lot of common ways of looking at things, and really, at the end of the day, we're both extremely critical of ourselves and what we produced. To give you just a sense, we did a short film that for whatever reason, and there's a ton, and we don't have time to go over all of those things. We produced it, we filmed it, we edited it, we were down to the end, and we both said, nope, not happening, because it wasn't meeting our expectations. So we scrapped it. We may do it again in the future. I don't know, but I think that the way in terms of like what it's done for our relationship, Mar is very much the technical guy. He is extremely talented when it comes to all of the technical aspects, as well as the creative part. I'm probably more that yin to that yang. I'm more of the creative person. So we kind of come together. He has some great ideas. And basically at the end of the day, the way that we work together is I'll give him an idea and I'll say, I think this should happen this way or that way, and we should edit it this and that and the other. He'll come back if he has an idea and say, I think that we should probably think about this instead. And essentially what we do is, let's see what it looks like. And then we kind of choose with what we're actually seeing, what is the best what is the best thing for that film or for that project. And 9 times out of 10, we're always in agreement.
Yeah, it comes down to, not to interrupt you, Paul, but it really comes down to respect, right? Respect of each other's opinions. And we're not here to, we both have the same goal, right? Which is no different than what it was in the music. Make the best possible product. Not the perfect product, because we don't have unlimited time and unlimited funds, but make the best possible product that we can and let that product speak for itself. So if it doesn't serve the movie and it only just serves our own personal, and there's a conflict there, we get rid of the personal. There's no ego, there's none of that. It's what's the best product that we can put out.
Let's talk about your new movie, because it deals with an important subject matter. It deals with an ex-military man and his family. It's a very heavy subject, heavy topic, set in Philadelphia. What made you, and I would say it's on the opposite end of the spectrum compared to One Night, but what made you decide on this project right now, given the heavy subject matter?
This particular story was born from a short film that we made, just to kind of get our names out there in the local industry. That film was called The Hitman, and I devised this character very loosely, because I'm not a hitman, but I devised this character based on some of my past. My main objective was to show a different side of a ruthless killer for lack of a better term, right? Because there's a human side to this character. And as you mentioned, very near and dear to my heart is the military. I spent 6 years in the Army. I still have a lot of great friends from my Army days that we keep in touch on social media and things of that nature. And I think that it's an important story and backdrop to be told, because not necessarily that the military aspect is a huge part of the movie, but just based on who this character is and that character development aspect of it. I think it definitely plays a really strong role, and it's something that I can speak to from personal experience.
And Mariano, was this a concerted effort to try something on the opposite end of the spectrum from your first movie, One Night?
Yeah, I don't know if we actually just said, let's just do a hard pivot. It kind of came out because that was the next story that was written. So what happened was we did The Hitman, the short film, and then everybody started asking Fabian a bunch of questions. Well, why did the character do this? And why did this character do that? And he didn't know because he didn't. But when he started thinking about all these questions, those questions developed into a story. And the next thing you know, he had another full-blown script done, and it was a good script. Now, listen, we've got other scripts. I've written some, he's written some. They're not all going to become films, right?
Right.
So we take what we think is going to be the really best, and we go for character development. You know, we did an action film, but it's not just 75% action. You know, there's a story there. There are characters there. There are people that by the end of the film you hopefully care about, you know more about. So I think it just came because that was the best thing on the table at the time. Not so much an intentional pivot away from a love story to an action film.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will say, what's the key to a good movie? I mean, it's great if you have, A-list Hollywood talent. That's one thing. Although we've seen movies with A-list Hollywood talent that have bombed at the box office. But what makes, and what have the two of you found working together here? What have you discovered to be the most important thing in making a movie? What is that one key element that is going to set everything else aside? Fabian, I'll start with you.
I think for me, the number one thing is the story. You have to have a good, compelling story. And that just leads into what Mar was just talking about, which is character development. You have to have characters that are believable, characters that people can relate to. Back and forth with story and character, I think that they're probably equally balanced, right? If the audience is watching something that they're saying to themselves, this could never happen. This is totally bogus. I don't believe this character. I don't understand why, somebody would do something or not do something or whatever the case may be. That kind of lessens what I think anyway. And this is me speaking as a fan, right? Sure. When I watch a movie, as you were saying just now with Hollywood A-listers, and I just watched one and I won't say what it was, but it was horrible. Because the story just fell apart. Right. The acting wasn't really up to par in my opinion. And I couldn't relate to any of the characters, either the villains or the heroes. It didn't really matter. I couldn't relate to any one of them. So I think that those things are at least primary in my opinion.
Mariano, would
yeah,
like to?
I would agree. I mean, look, nowadays you could take your iPhone, you could shoot a 4K film, right? Free software out there to edit it. If the lighting isn't right, the color isn't right, the sound isn't right. But if you've got a good story and great character development, good acting, it'll still sell. People will still watch it because they want to see what happens next, because they get invested into these characters. So I would agree with Fabe. I think those are the most important. Now, we've learned a lot more of what not to do than what to do. So
we have a few minutes left here. What's next then for you guys? I mean, first of all, where can people find more information about your production company and the other works that you've done? Is there a website we could direct them to find out more information?
Mm-hmm. We have a fourolivesproductions.com website that's to our production company. It lists all the projects that we've done to date. There are, I want to say, maybe a handful of short films that are available on YouTube. Many of our films are still in the festival circuit, so we don't make them publicly available. But as you said, One Night is on Amazon Prime. The best way to find that is search for One Night as in nighttime, because some people had said, I searched for One Night, like knight in shining armor. And I was like, no, night as in nighttime. So if you search One Night and Fabian Farina, it pops right up to the top of the list. Sacrum Vindictae, hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed, we'll have some distribution. And both Mariano and I are on Facebook and Instagram, so folks can follow us. We're constantly posting on things that we're doing, updates to films, festivals, and things of that nature.
So have the two of you grown closer as friends? Have two of you, I know one of you was able to get a date and the other one is still sitting at home working on these movies. I mean, how has your life changed dramatically as a result of this whole experience?
I think it's a continuation of what we used to do. You know, I was just talking with Michelle earlier, and I said, you know, when you think about it, when would I see Fabian? Because he lives an hour away from me now, right? So when would we spend time with each other if we weren't involved in a project, whether that be music or film? And so that, I don't know if we could get any closer. We really do say that we're brothers from another mother, because we consider each other more family than just friends. But it continues that. It gives us that, you know, time is getting shorter as you get older. So, you know, it gives us that opportunity to spend some quality time with each other, doing something that hopefully lasts a lot longer than we do. You know?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both for being on our program here, and want to wish you continued success. I would like to keep in touch with you and,
Sure,
and see what other projects you have coming down the pipeline. We'll have you back on again and talk about that. But again, continued success. Best of luck with your latest project, and you always have a place to come back here and talk about your latest work.
Thank you, Paul.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Paul. It was a great time.
Great. I appreciate your time very much. And until the next time, my name is Paul Perrello. Thanks so much for joining us here on The Philly Factor. We'll catch you the next time around.